Hello YouTube, this is Quinn, that snazzy iPhone guy, and this is the iPad versus Dell Streak comparison video. Now obviously it's not going to be completely fair because I have been using the Streak primarily as a telephone and not as an actual tablet. However, Dell does market it as a 5-inch tablet device, so let's see how it holds up to the infamous Apple iPad. Okay, so let's talk about size first. Now, in terms of portability, obviously the Streak is going to be the device for you. The iPad is a very, very big device. It has a 9.7-inch screen, which spans the entire, wow, I was going to say entire length of the device, but that obviously is not true. So the device itself is about 10 to 11 inches across. It's pretty long. And, you know, it's not a portable thing. You're going to want a bag or a case to carry this in. You know, this isn't something you can throw in your pocket. Now, the Streak, in my mind, rather than a tablet, it's just a massively big smartphone. I have been using this as my primary telephone. It doesn't look quite, I mean, it's a big phone, but it doesn't look quite as big because I do have pretty decent sized hands, but don't get me wrong, it is a pretty big device. So as for the size, kind of just to show you how things work, I'll line up the Streak against the iPad. So you can see the Streak is significantly smaller than the iPad. And then we'll line up the second generation iPhone against these corners as well. There we go. So you can see the Streak is nowhere near as big as the iPad. It's more iPhone oriented, but the iPhone is smaller, the whole iPhone is smaller than the screen itself on the Streak. So that's one thing to note. Now, let's talk about weight. The iPad weighs a pretty hefty 1.5 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're reading a book in one hand, this gets some weight after a few minutes. Now, the Streak is significantly lighter, despite the fact that it has some interesting features such as a metal wow, I can speak English, a metal backplate. It is only 1/3 of the weight, the Streak is. Now, the CPU, the iPad packs an Apple A4, it's their custom chip, which is manufactured by Samsung. It is a 1000 megahertz, aka 1 gigahertz processor. And the Streak has a very, very similar chipset. It's packing the Snapdragon from Qualcomm, which is also a 1 gigahertz processor. So in theory, they're running the same power, packing the same boost. So it's a tie on that one. Now let's talk about RAM and ROM. Now RAM, the Streak actually wins the battle. Along with the iPhone 4, the Streak packs 512 megabytes of RAM, whereas the iPad packs a mere 256 megabytes. So the Streak does have it in terms of power. Of overall beefiness, the Streak takes this end of the league. Now, let's talk about ROM. Now, you can get your iPad in various sizes. You can get it in 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte variants. And the onboard memory serves as the read-only memory on this device. And the Streak has very minimal internal. I can check the specs here very quick. The ROM inside the device, the ROM inside the device has 512 megabytes. So there's less than a gig. There's half a gig of internal memory on this phone. And that packs the Android OS and a few other things. However, in this phone, you have a micro SD card slot, and it comes with a 16 gigabyte one, and it's expandable to 32. So for, you know, only like $80 more than the stock, you can get this with 32 gigs of memory. Now, I forgot to talk about price in the beginning. The iPad starts at $499 for the iPod version, the Wi-Fi only version, and goes up in increments of $100. This is the 64 gigabyte Wi-Fi version, which runs just at over $800. Now, this is the Streak. The Streak is available on contract with AT&T for $299, and then you can buy it off contract full retail for $550, which is what I did. So $550 gets you 16 gigs. You're ready to go with it, the 3G chip, and then $500 will get you 16 gigs with Wi-Fi only, the no 3G modem inside. Now, let's talk about the accelerometer. Now, they both pack an accelerometer. However, the iPad does pack a better accelerometer. I did try and play a few different games and try the sensitivity, and I did try and download a logistics app for this one, and I was able even to kind of build a basic one on the iPhone SDK. And I did note that the sensitivity on the iPad was a little bit better. Now, it's not significant, but the iPad either has a better accelerometer or responds to the accelerometer a little bit better. So, the Streak has a good one. It's just not quite as responsive as the iPads. Now, the touchscreen. They both pack a TFT capacitive touchscreen display. Thank goodness there's no resistive garbage. So they do both have a glass texture. Now, on the iPad, you have Apple's glass, and on the Streak, you have a Gorilla Glass. Now, I do note that the Streak, you can get little of those wave marks in the LCD a little bit easier. Excuse me, on the LCD, I don't remember, on it a little bit better than the iPad. So it does feel like there's a bit more resistance on the iPad. You can see the screen going down at an angle, if you can see that. But it's a little bit worse on the Streak. Now, finger on contact, it's pretty good. But when you start to dig your fingernail into it, you'll start to see little artifacts on the screen from the LED getting thrown about. Now, let's talk about, but in terms of the touchscreen, they're both extremely sensitive. I couldn't really determine a winner. If I had to, I'd say the Streak, and I'll tell you why. Now, they're both able, or so the rumor goes of the iPad, they're both able to detect pressure sensitivity. The Streak for sure does it. I downloaded a logistics app, like I said, and tried the sensitivity on the physical device itself. Now, the iPad, it's against the SDK. So, there's no apps in the App Store that take advantage of this. Now, you may be thinking, why would I want a display such as that with pressure sensitivity? And the reason is for sketching and drawing apps in some games, depending on how hard you push on the screen, it gives you a different feedback. So if I was on a sketching app and I lightly drew on it, it'd be a light pencil mark. But if I pushed down hard and went around the screen, it'd be a heavier mark. So the Streak is able of doing this, and the iPad is as well, but due to the iPad's SDK restrictions, there are no apps that take advantage of this feature, where on the Streak there is. So if I had to choose a winner, it'd be the Streak in terms of the touchscreen, but I'm not really sure. Let's talk about the physical screen itself. Now, the iPad does pack significantly more pixels, but look at the screen size. Let's see, on my spec sheet here, I'm trying to look for it. I don't know if it's on here. Let's see, on the iPad it is 768 by 1024, and on the Streak it is I don't know. It's not listed on here. What a lousy spec sheet. Oh, it's 480 by 800. So 480 by 800, 768 by 1024. Now, obviously, that is better, but due to the display's size, you will get pretty much about the same quality. The Streak screen looks absolutely incredible, and the iPad's does as well. If I had to choose, I would pick the Streak once again due to its smaller size. Even trying to focus on pixels, you can see them, but you can see them on the iPad a lot easier. So that's one thing to note. Now, let's get into, I have my notes here. Let's get into the, we already talked about memory, kind of 16, 32, 64, expandable to 32. Now, the mic. You'd think, as a cell phone, that the Streak would have a killer microphone. There it is, right there. I'm going to tell you up front that it is not good at all. The iPad has a dinky little gimmicky mic built into the top here, by the headphone jack, right there, if you can see it. But I will tell you right now that the microphone sounds better when recording on the iPad than the Streak. And that's my biggest disappointment. Call quality actually sounds really good coming in. So the speakerphone right here, I'm highly impressed by it. The problem is I sound not like garbage, but I don't sound good to people on my end. I sound like I'm on a cell phone. I don't sound like I'm on a landline, which you do on the iPhone and a few of the other newer phones out on the market. So that is a bit of a downside, and the mic, I feel the quality-wise, it's better on the iPad. Now, the speaker, once again, I gotta say that it beats the Streak. The Streak speaker is right here, and it's really, to be honest, incredibly lousy. I was highly disappointed by it. I felt like they could have packed a really good one in here, but they just didn't. It's loud, but it's not clear. And I'm going to say that the iPhone is better. I've tried the Evos. The Evo has a better speakerphone. These two features alone is what makes me the most furious. Now, granted, they do market it as a tablet, not a smartphone. So for the average person that's using it as a tablet, you probably don't care about the microphone or maybe even the external speaker right here, but that was a disappointment. Now, the iPad packs the one on the bottom. It isn't great, and it isn't that loud, but it does sound pretty clear when you crank it up. So the winner of the speaker is definitely the iPad. Now, in terms of music, this is where things got really, really difficult for me. I wanted to give it to the Streak. I really did, but I'm not sure that I can yet. And that's not saying that it won't eventually overtake it, but I'm saying right now it's not quite there. Now, I've never really been a fan of a touchscreen interface music player. I've always used the click wheel iPods, and I hate the one on the iPhone. But the iPad kind of changed my mind. It is a pretty nice little system for scaling music right here. You know, you click on one, you play a song, and it works really well with the album artwork, and it's just a really polished, well done interface. Now, when we go over to the Streak, historically with phones, I think the music players are crap. Now, the Streak changes that. The Streak has, hands down, the best music player I've ever seen on a touchscreen. It's better than the iPhones, but it isn't quite as good as the iPads. Now, it does sort images this way, and you can also put it vertical if you so choose, and it's kind of a half and half. But you can choose by recently added. They create these little playlists for you, a random sampler of just all the music on your device. I don't have very much right now. And then your most played tracks. Now, you can also go into artists and look for all of the artists. It shows the album artwork, and all you do is, in terms of syncability, the Streak definitely wins, because the Streak, there's a folder on the root of the memory stick called Music, and you drag all the music into that folder. Now, with iTunes, you have to manage it and sync it, and it's just a crock of crap, if you ask me. And so in terms of syncability, the Streak definitely wins, but it's a killer music player, and I really, really, really wanted to give it to the Streak for having the best music player. And it's close, but it's not quite there. But in terms of a mobile device, the iPhone definitely is a shortcoming in terms of the Streak, and I think Apple could learn a thing or two from how Dell did their music interface. It's really, really good, and it's definitely the best I've seen on a touchscreen. Once again, I mean a phone, but the iPad does succeed it. But it's a close race. Now, what else? Oh, video. Now, the Streak takes this hands down, and I'll explain to you why. The iPhone 4 and the iPad, and pretty much every other iOS device. Why is my camera wigging out? Focused, aren't you? There we go. That was really bizarre. The iPad is only capable of playing MP4 files. Now, this can be variated into H.264 and a few other file sizes like that that are based off the MP4 codec. However, the Streak is capable of playing so much more than that. WMV, MOV, M4V. You know, again, most videos online are MP4, but the Streak can play pretty much any media file that's thrown at it, and that is highly impressive if you ask me. Now, music, once again, the iPad does have a little bit more impressive resume when it comes to playing music, but it isn't the best. It'll play MP3. Does it play WAV files? I don't know. I don't think it does. But it plays AIF and lossless, and so it is good on the iPad. But I do think, in terms of all media considered, the Streak outdoes it. Now, let's talk about Flash. There is none on either device. Now, why do you ask? It's because this is running Android 1.6. Now, I don't know why Dell didn't wait a month to release it, but they didn't, and they shipped it with 1.6. Now, they said in the month of September, this will ship with and it will be upgradable to 2.2 Froyo. So you will get flash capabilities. It'll be a lot snappier. It'll be a lot more secure, and I may have to do a revisit on this in a month when I get my update, because I think that update alone will make this a huge improvement on this device. But for right now, neither of them use flash. As for the keyboard that comes stock on the Streak is absolute and complete garbage. Now, the good thing about Android OS is it gives you the ability to tweak pretty much everything you want. So I went to the Android market and picked up an application called Best Keyboard, and Best Keyboard replaces the entire keyboard on your device. And it's pretty good right now. I did for a while. I decided I didn't like it because my accuracy is pretty good on the Streak. By the way, it can go into portrait, and the good thing is you can change it. So there's T9 and Elite keyboards, and there's a bunch of other stuff you can use. But for right now, I found my accuracy was pretty good, so I stuck with this keyboard. But there are a bunch of other cool features. Now, this is my favorite thing on the planet, and it's that little microphone right there. If you touch that microphone, it activates Google Transcription, and that is hugely cool. Let's just watch. Hello, YouTube. This is the comparison video. That didn't work very good. I was trying to show you how cool it was, and it didn't work too well. Let me try and get a little closer. Hello, YouTube. This is a comparison video, period. There you go. Hello, YouTube. This is a comparison video. So it is pretty neat. It's still recording what I said, but I really do like how that works out. And I speak a lot of my text when I'm driving, and other times I don't want to concentrate on looking at what I'm typing. But I'd say the stock keyboard overall, the iPad, hands down, is the best in landscape. I can pop out about 60 words to 70 words, maybe even a little bit more. I'm almost as fast on a keyboard as I'm almost as fast on an iPad as I am a keyboard. So I can just haul butt on the iPad keyboard. And I'm getting there with the Streak, but I'm not quite there. So right now I'm gonna have to give the keyboard to the iPad. Now, let's talk about Wi-Fi. The iPad is A, G, B, and N capable, and the Streak is only 802.11a, A, B, and G. So you do get N connectivity through the iPad, and that is nice, seeing as though I have N wireless N router. And in this physical spot in my house, I don't get very good reception with G protocols, so the Streak doesn't connect too well from here in my house, but the iPad connects fine. So it's kind of a hit and miss, but in terms of speed, pure download speed, the Streak took it. I don't know why the Streak was faster. I wasn't expecting the Streak to be faster because the the iPad streams video like a champ, but the Streak did take data down faster. Now, I took screenshots of them, but then long story short, I had to restore my iPad. It was all a very big mess last night, but I don't have them anymore, but I don't know the exact speeds, but they were pretty fast. And then I use AT&T 3G in my neighborhood, which is phenomenal, by the way, to try a test download on the Streak. And the Streak, what do they claim? They claim on HSDPA 7.2 megabits a second down, and I got like 6.1, so it hauled. It was really fast on the Streak. And I don't know if the iPad 3G is capable of that because I only have the Wi-Fi version, but I was hugely impressed at how fast the Streak downloaded content. It's quite incredible, actually. Okay, now let's go to the camera. Now, on the iPad, right now there is no camera, and that may very well change next year, and not in September when they release the new iPad. I'm guessing they'll put a front-facing camera and a rear-facing camera on the back of the iPhone, or on the iPad, and that'll keep it up to date with the Streak. Now, the Streak packs a 5-megapixel camera with dual LED flash. The flash is garbage. It doesn't do a good job at all. However, the camera is actually really nice. I took some example shots, and you'll see them in the final review of the Dell Streak. Is it an iPhone camera? No. And the stock camera application is garbage. I went out and bought an application called, what is it called? It's called vignette, and it does a really good job at managing photos, and it has some really cool filters. It's basically like the Camera Plus of Android, except for it's available in the Android market. Ooh, burn. And there is also a front-facing VGA camera, which is lousy, but you know, what can you do about it? Now, the camera on the back in terms of video is really bad, but right now it's terrible. It's like 640 by 240. It's just disgustingly bad. 640 by 480, I think. But they are updating it to 720p also when the Froyo update comes out later this September. Now, the browser is kind of an interesting experience because on the Streak there is a decent browser. The stock browser is fine, and I think I'm going to upgrade to it. There's a good one I've been testing out. The trial version. It's called Dolphin browser, but the browser on the Streak does a fine job. Is it great? No, but it's fine. And you know, it was pretty well off. So we'll just load an example page, and let's try using Wi-Fi, and we'll load the same page simultaneously. This will be a fun test, and we will see which one loads it faster. Now, both of them have poor wireless connectivity indicators, but they do both receive data. It may be unfair to have the Streak go against the iPad because the Streak's Wi-Fi capabilities, once again, aren't quite as good as the iPad's. But we will type in Engadget.com, which is a long blog, by the way. Engadget.com, and we will do the same on the Android phone. I'm doing this around a tripod, and it's really quite difficult. Sorry. Okay. On your marks, get set, go. Oh, dang it. This loaded the mobile version. Okay, I forgot. That's a problem with Engadget. It doesn't allow you to actually load the... it redirects so many times you have to load from. So that's a bad example. Now I'm making the Streak look like crap. Let's load my website, treaded.com. Neither of these devices have it cached, so it should be pretty fast on both, but we'll see. 1, 2, 3, go. And the Streak pulls in front of it. Streak is done before the iPad even got to the screen. So they both have it loaded, but the Streak definitely won. Now you will notice the latency on that is not even close to as good. The pinch to zoom on the iPad is incredible. And on the Streak, it's kind of, you notice that it works, but it's not quite as good. So let's try this one more time. We'll just give you a look at this. Take a gander. You can see the iPad in the background. Just beautiful, really smooth. And the Streak is a little bit jittery, a little bit lousy. And I think that's due to the browser and not so much the phone itself. But the browser can definitely be upgraded. Now there's a browser called Dolphin browser. It's available in the Android store, and it's a killer browser. In my final review, I'll be using that browser because that is what's impressive. And even though the stock browser on the Android OS loaded it faster than the iPad, it would load faster on the Streak. So just due to pure screen size and real estate, I'm going to have to say the iPad is a better web browser, but not by much. The Streak is fast, efficient, and it does handle web pages, big ones, quite nicely. So let's talk about the battery. Now, the battery is absolutely incredible in the iPad. Everyone knows this. People have said they've gone 10 hours, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days without charging the device. Mine's at a dangerously low level. It's at 5%, but I haven't charged this in 3 or 4 days. And I use it regularly. You know, I use it consistently throughout the day to tweet. I check out my email on it all the time. This is my main email client. And my camera focus is wigging out. Sorry. And now the Streak has a really good battery life. When you don't have, let's say, okay, so I haven't tried the iPad 3G, and I've heard it's not even as close to as good as the Wi-Fi one, so I have to take this with a grain of salt. But the Streak, if you turn off the 3G modem, put it in airplane mode, and then turn Wi-Fi on and still have all the fetching services off, just like on the iPad, they'll last the exact same time. And the Streak actually may even outdo it. Now this carries a 10 watt battery, and this is a mere 1530 milliamp hour, but this phone is really conserving. I've used this as my main phone all day long. It's never had itself a break. I've been tweeting, I've been direct messaging from it, I've been using it to browse pages, and it says 100%, which is not right. I'll have to reboot so we can see what it really is. I'll do that in the background right now, but it is just blazing fast. And the battery is really, really superior. So, this is a tough one. I'm going to have to give the battery life to the Streak, because the Streak is a smaller device, it's more portable, it has the same battery life, and the battery's lighter, and the battery's removable. You can pull off this back cover, which I don't really want to do because it turns the phone off. What the heck? Pull that off. This is a metal, by the way. And then there's the battery itself, 1530 milliamp hours. It's a big battery, but I have to say that it is better than the iPads because it's the same time and it's user replaceable. So if in a year your battery's toast on your iPad, you get to go to Apple and say, okay, Apple, here's $100, or you can order a $30 battery offline, and you kind of have to worry about damaging your iPad. Whereas the Streak, you pop it out, you pop a new one in midway through the day, and you're fine. So battery goes to the Streak. It's absolutely incredible on this phone. Now, email, this is a tough one. I'd have to say the best email client goes to the iPad. I said this is a tough one. It's really not. This is the easiest one out of all of them. I tried a couple of different email clients on the Streak, and I've been highly underwhelmed by all of them. It's not as good as any of the iPhone generations. I mean, the iPad 2G doesn't do mail as fast, but it does mail just as well as the Streak, if not better. So I was really disappointed by, the attempt that, it's a good attempt, and they have tons of really cool options that the iPad doesn't carry. Like, you can do signatures per account, you can always BCC people. So there's really complex settings that are really neat. And if you're a power user and you use rules and a bunch of other email stuff, then an Android phone is probably for you because it's highly customizable. Whereas the iPad is add email client, check email. But that's all I need. I'm a disorganized fool, so the iPad works fine for me. But, I'm using K9 Mail right now. I replaced the stock mail client, and I replaced Gmail as well. But, it works fine on both ways. It's still saying 100%. That was bizarre. Did I ever plug it in today? I don't know. Not phasing me. Okay. Let's go and pump the processor back up. There we go. Sorry. I just had to get the processor ready to go. Now you're going to ask me, what? I'll talk about that in a minute. So email goes to the iPad hands down. Now, let's talk about tweakability. Now, everyone knows you can jailbreak an iPad, and my iPad is indeed jailbroken. I'm running a few apps on here, such as SB settings and a couple different things, which are pretty neat. You have the ability to turn stuff on, all from this control panel. But the problem with this is you need to jailbreak. And in theory, jailbreaking voids your warranty. It's just a matter of fact, and Apple's trying to stop it at every cost. You have to hold out on updates, and you're always, a week behind everyone else. A month behind everyone else because you don't have the latest version update due to the fact you're jailbroken. Also, and this is kind of with any device, but jailbreaking significantly slows down your operating system. Like a computer, the more crap you install, the slower it's going to slow your thing down. So my iPad wigged out the other night. I don't really know why, but I didn't have very much stuff installed. And until that moment, it had never given me troubles. And that's because I have like 4 packages from Cydia installed. And because it is the way that it is, it's a lot easier to... what am I talking about? It's a lot easier to manage your iPad. It's a lot less difficult to make sure that it stays intact, that everything works fine. Now, with the Streak, what I've done is called rooting. It's pretty much exactly like rooting, and oops, that's my email. Okay, and I'll show you what rooting is like. It's like jailbreaking, and it's actually easier than jailbreakme.com. So if that's an indicator of how easy it is, there you go. There's a little app that you download from the internet, and it is called Universal Androot. Now, what Androot does is it roots your device. That is the jailbreaking form in Android, and you can root and unroot directly from your phone. So it says, what are you on right now? And I say I'm on Android 1.5, 1.6. And then I root it. You can do it temporarily, so you can do it just for a second if you need to do a certain task. And then you can also unroot it. So you push that button and it goes away and you're good to go. Now, that is the beauty of it. You don't have to restore. You can do it all from the device itself. Now, right now I only have one page on the streak, but like a lot of the things on the iPad you have to jailbreak for, you can do it directly from the widgets that come with the phone, like the Wi-Fi. Just turned it off. From the main page, didn't have to slide across, didn't have to jailbreak, it actually is a widget that came directly on the phone. Now, there's also a bunch of other cool apps you have to get. Now, right now, this is called Set CPU. And what Set CPU does is it allows you to tell the phone how fast and how hard it should work. Now, you may be thinking, what exactly does that mean? I told you there was a Snapdragon processor in here, right? Now, in order to conserve battery and to conserve power and to add to the longevity of your device, they set or restrict how fast you can run your processor. Now, the OS itself runs on 245 megahertz. It's really slow, and I don't know why. And if I turn all these down, you'll notice how much laggier it is doing everything. Opening drawers, opening notifications. It just isn't a snappy process. Opening Twitter. See, there's a good example. Now, if I bump the processor the crap up, see, it takes a minute for me to register it. I clicked it. It just is taking a second. Now, I'm going to bump this up to the max. Oh. No power save. Performance. Why is it only letting me go to 528 megahertz? What the crap did I do? Come on. That's really bizarre. If you saw a few minutes ago, it was letting me run it at 9. Why is it doing that? Well, that's an epic fail. Oh my gosh, okay. Let me reboot this. Hold on real quick. That is bizarre. I don't know why. But basically what the Android OS allows you to do is, like I said, I didn't like the keyboard on the iPad. Excuse me, I didn't like the keyboard that came on the streak. In 20 seconds, completely legally, completely without having to go and download Cydia and download Cydia, all that crap, I was running a new keyboard on my device. And, the same for a bunch of other things. I was running widgets on my device. I said, when you boot, do this on my device. I have backups that go every night at 3 a.m. It backs up all my pictures, all my call logs, all my text messages, automatically. I don't say a word to it. Now, the iPad doesn't do that, and that is mostly due to the limitations of the iPhone SDK, and it's really disappointing because the iPad is capable of all these things, but it isn't executed because Apple wants to keep everything perfect. And it is for good reason. The iPad is so stable and never runs into problems for that reason. There's not third-party developers that can install unauthorized things. I don't have to reboot it very often, and that's one of the advantages. There we go, it fixed itself. That was really bizarre. No, it didn't. There we go. Okay, so now I'm telling it the slowest you can run is 1 gigahertz. Now, you'll notice that everything just loads with a breeze. Now, it takes a second for the app to open, but when I go to multitasking, look how speedy that is. It's really fast app switching, and most of it, see that? It's due to multitasking. And that's what's cool about Android is it does have real multitasking. It's not the stupid implemented multitasking that Apple has. And you'll notice everything is just instantaneous. Now, it does come with a downside. You do have to have a task killer because when you're opening all these things and they're all running at the same time, it slows stuff down. But all I need to do is that. It does take a minute to open again, but it clears up the CPU on my phone. And you'll see that it is just speedy at everything, button clicks and responses. It's really, really, really fast. And I would have to say overall responsiveness, when everything is working good, all things considered, the Streak takes the throne. It is just bam, 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 snap, snap, snap. It has multitasking. The iPad does not. Now the iPhone 4 does. This is as fast, if not faster, than the iPhone 4 when it's working. And that's why it gets funny, is I say when it's working. The stability and the reliability on Android is anywhere near as close as iOS. I will admit that. I never will probably ever deny it, and that is for good reason. Apple doesn't let you install automatic updates. They don't let you install an antivirus on your phone. Now you're thinking, whoa, an antivirus? I have an antivirus, but all it does is it imitates the Find My iPhone service on Mobile Me. So basically what happens is there's an app store. It's called the Android Market, and that is on your Dell Streak. Now there's also a thing called go to whatever website you want and install an application. You can install applications right from the web that haven't been approved to put in the market. But it comes with the double-edged sword because a lot of them are malicious, a lot of them steal personal information. So I have an antivirus. So when I decide, if I ever do, to go download an application directly from the internet, it says, okay, this one's safe. There's nothing bad on it. Good to know. Good to have. Let me power through the rest of these quick because I know it's been a long time. Tweakability, the Streak wins hands down. Stability, the iPad wins. Warranty, the iPad wins. No one's as good as the geniuses at the Genius Bar. You go in, you say, hey, this is my problem. You be honest with them, say, all right, I did do this to it. You're good to go. Dell really frightens me. Granted, I've never had problems with this phone, and I hope I never do because Dell is notorious for having the worst customer support on the planet. So warranty goes to the iPad. Bluetooth goes to the Streak, hands down. And you may be wondering, well, why? If I had the iPhone 4, the Streak would also still win. I have an in-car audio Bluetooth system in my in my car, and every time I wanted to connect to Bluetooth on any iPhone I've ever had or any of my iPad to play audio directly over Bluetooth, I'm required to navigate to the Bluetooth menu and push my source. Not with the Streak. You get in the car, you turn the car on, and it automatically connects. Really cool on the Streaks, and just Bluetooth is crystal clear. I've been using Bluetooth speakers, Bluetooth audio. It sounds better through the Streak on Bluetooth. They're both packed with Bluetooth 2.1, but this just manages it way better. File management, the Streak. Now this is also a double-edged sword. The iPad and the Streak both manage files. Now, the bad thing about having a file hierarchy is it does get a little bit confusing. When you have a bunch of stuff, when you're a newbie grandma user, I would never let my grandma touch this phone. Not because she'd break it or anything like that, but because she would be so overthrown and confused by the operating system. Apple is where they are at due to simplicity. It's not because things are done significantly better. It's not because things are done in a way that makes it more usable. They do it in a way that is sensical, something that's easy to understand and grasp. And that's why in terms of file management, it's kind of a double-edged sword. A lot of people go, I don't want file management. It's not a computer. It's a cell phone or it's a tablet. I just want to save it. And when I open the application, I want it to open. And that's where the iPad comes in. But I think these are two very powerful devices. And I think that you're going to be editing Word documents on them, saving pictures. And you want to be able to find the physical file on your device. You want to be able to go to your music directory and go, okay, this is exactly the song I was looking for. You could plug it into your computer and you pull it off. And I think that the iPad is severely limited in terms of file management. So I got to give it to the Streak on that one. Now, fingerprints. This one sounds super silly, but fingerprints are a big problem for me. The iPad right there, you can see these were both cleaned at the same time. You can see there are a ton of prints on the iPad, and there are pretty much none on the Streak. There's a few swipes here and there, but I don't know what they did to the iPad. I don't know what they did to the Streak. There's freaking fairy dust on this stuff. I'm not even sure what is on there. But this thing does not fingerprint when it comes to the glass. These sides do because they're plastic and they scratch too. But in terms of screen durability, I'm going to give it to the Streak. The Gorilla Glass does not scratch. I've tried. I have no scratches on this after throwing it in the same pocket as keys and coins. I actually did it on purpose to try it. No problems. The iPad is very resistant, but there are a few scratches from I don't even know when. I've never thrown it in a pocket with keys. So I got to give durability to the Gorilla Glass on the Streak, and I also have to give fingerprint management to the Streak, hands down. I've never seen fewer fingerprints with my hands on a device that's touchscreen ever. So all in all, who wins? It's really, really tough to decide, and I'm going to leave it up to you because I can't. I love both of them the same. This is my smartphone. This is my tablet. I use this for email because it's simplistic. It's easy to use. This is a little bit trickier to use. It's more of a pro user little device. And so it kind of depends. It's what you want. If you want usability, tweakability, you want a killer battery life, you want a bunch of other stuff, pick the Streak. If you want good battery, you want reliability, you want a good warranty, you want a good keyboard, you want good Wi-Fi, you want a good music and video player, the iPad's probably the way to go. But I take that back, video player right here. But it is kind of a selective person. I can't say one or the other because I use both of them. I am going to continue to use both of them. And so this is Quinn. That's Snazzy iPhone Guy. As always, stay snazzy. See you later.